about them Cowboys. How about them? Facebook Live. Skip Bayless back from West Los Angeles, about a mile from the Fox studios down at Pico and Avenue of the Stars, where tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 here in Los Angeles, I will be on Undisputed across the desk from one Shannon, Cowboy-hating Sharpe, who tried to jinx my pick, Cowboys over Kansas City, by also picking the Cowboys to beat Kansas City. It was clear his heart wasn't in it. I will shame him about that tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. But what a day it was for the NFC East. First, quick thought on the game I just watched the conclusion of. I had it on, but I couldn't really keep up with it because I was all about the Cowboys over the Chiefs. How about them Redskins? Man, go up to Seattle and pull that off. And the long pass to Doxton that stood, first and goal at the 1, they score. I was just sure Russell Wilson was going to pull off some magic because there's nobody much better than Russell Wilson pulling off late game magic. But he was a little wild high on a couple throws. Then he made one throw, and then the Hail Mary had a chance. We've seen Hail Marys work before, especially up there, and it didn't. D'Angelo Hall, guy I've gotten to know a little bit from the show, made a nice play, and the Redskins pull off a win at Seattle. And this is just me. I know it's been a long, hard roll here for the Cowboys, long, hard uphill climb. But I still think they're going to win the NFC East, which may be the only way to get in the playoffs after the 2 home losses to the Rams and Aaron Rodgers. And I still say they are going to win the NFC, period, because Shannon Sharpe's pick to win not only the NFC but the Super Bowl, the Seattle Seahawks, I just haven't loved them all year. Russell Wilson continues to dig them out of holes, couldn't dig them out of this one. They struggle on offense. I mean, the Redskins went in there with like a third of their roster injured, and they pulled that off. I'm just not buying Seattle. I still think Dallas is better than Seattle. I still think Dallas is better than Philadelphia. I take nothing away from what Philly did today at home to Denver, albeit against Brock Osweiler, who looks like a big whooping, blooping crane to me at 6'7". Just looks like he's lost all his confidence. Not surprised by what they did to him, but I am surprised about what Carson Wentz did to the Broncos defense. But I think it's starting to lose heart because it has no quarterback. So when you have 3 quarterbacks, you have none. It's not Trevor Siemian. I don't know what's happened to Paxton Lynch. Guess he's still banged up. And what goes around has come back around in Brock Osweiler, and they just don't have a quarterback. So I'm not going to put a whole lot of stock into Philly's big blowout win. I can't even remember what the score. Do they get to 50? I'm sure they're flying high. Fly, Eagles, fly, bye, Eagles, bye into the bye week. And they're right on schedule. And what are they up to now? 8-1. And I assume they're going to get to 9-1. And then it starts. Then the season starts when the Eagles visit the Cowboys. Cowboys got another tough one next week at Atlanta. I just still like the Cowboys offense. It is, I'm not saying it's the most explosive. It's not even as explosive as Atlanta's was last year, obviously. It just can control the football and the clock. I like them at Atlanta. Atlanta lost today at Carolina. I think Atlanta is struggling. I saw a quote from Sanu last week in which he said that, I'm paraphrasing, but he said that it's like night and day difference on offense what they're doing this year versus last year. Obviously, Kyle Shannon went to San Francisco and another new coordinator, and now it just doesn't look the same to me. And, you know, I take a lot of grief on Undisputed for what I say about Dak Prescott. In fact, we made a commercial that I think is going to start airing here in the month of November for Undisputed on Fox and Fox Sports 1. And the whole conceit of it, if you will, is how much I believe in Dak Prescott. I won't give it away. I haven't seen the final cut of it, but it could be pretty clever and maybe a little funny. Maybe you'll laugh out loud. I'm not laughing at Dak Prescott. So I told you just before the game started today right here on Facebook Live that I thought this game would belong more to Dak than to Zeke. Zeke had an okay game. What's the numbers? I got the numbers here, I think. Yeah. 27 carries for 93 yards. It's okay. Had a couple slash and dashes. But 27 for 93 didn't exactly dominate the game. But all the key plays, the key throws, and the key runs were made by the quarterback, by Dak Prescott. And once again, this team showed me some guts, some heart, some backbone, some resilience, some answer, because it looked like the momentum had wildly swung in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs. Dallas dominated the first half. It should have been 14-3 at half, and Andy Reid came up with another creatively brilliant scheme play. I'd never seen anybody try that. Instead of trying the bombs away Hail Mary to the back of the end zone, Dallas had like 6-7 guys across the goal line. They dump it underneath and on a shorter pass. I don't know how far the pass traveled, 10-15 yards to Tyreek Hill with a phalanx of blockers out in front of him. And all of a sudden, those however many guys are back, 7 guys, 8 guys, I don't know what it was, 7 guys probably. They have to come up and challenge 3 blockers and get to the fastest guy on the field. And they just weren't ready for it. And I love Orlando Scandrick, but he made a poor play on the ball. Yet after his ACL reconstruction that he went through 2 years ago, he hasn't had quite the same burst. And, man, he was just on skates trying to corral Tyreek Hill, who just made him look pretty foolish. Blew right by him, blew right by everybody. It was really a pretty easy touchdown. Nobody really touched Tyreek Hill. I don't think a hand was laid on him. And way to go, Andy Reid. And all of a sudden, momentum swings wildly back to Kansas City. And they get the ball. Opening kickoff, and they go boom, 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 boom. Touchdown to Travis Kelce in the corner of the end zone. Byron Jones, as I said last week on Undisputed, come on down, because this is going to be your week, because you're going to get that guy, the best tight end in football. And he had a couple of boneheaded penalties, did Byron Jones. But I think in general he did a pretty good job on him, pretty good job. But it's just hard to get when you're one-on-one in the corner of the end zone with Travis Kelce. You're probably going to lose that battle. Alex Smith threw a nice ball and touchdown, and all of a sudden they go from what the Chiefs were calling the sideline a Hill Mary, as in Tyreek Hill Mary, to Travis Kelce. Obviously, his teams are now practicing, rehearsing their stunts after touchdowns to celebrate, and they did a sack race. And obviously, Travis Kelce wins the sack race, and they are strutting their stuff. They are starting to front run. They're starting to rub the Cowboys' noses in it, and it felt like big advantage Kansas City. So now it's time to answer. And what happened? Let me grab my notes. What happened was the Dak attack went 75 yards in 12 plays. That's an answer. And all of a sudden, from 17-14 Chiefs, it goes back to 21-17 Dallas. And then a punt, and here comes the Dak attack again, 87 yards in 13 plays, and it's 28-17. And then, of course, Jeff Heath. I'm not the biggest Jeff Heath fan. A little bit of an overachiever. He did pick off Aaron Rodgers twice last year in the playoff game that Dallas ended up losing, thanks to Mason Crossbar. Don't get me started. But Jeff Heath did make 2 interceptions in that game, but one got canceled by pass interference on Anthony Brown. But still, I haven't seen or heard much of Jeff Heath since then. I know Rod Marinelli likes him because he's a smart kid and he plays his technique and he's mostly in the right place at the right time, but doesn't have the talent sometimes to back it up. But he jumped the route because obviously on 4th and whatever it was, 4th and 8, Alex Smith had to go to his go-to guy, Travis Kelce, best tight end in football, and Jeff Heath lurked. And he was, as Tony Romo calls him, the rat on the in the scheme, and he jumped in front of Travis Kelce and picked the ball off, and that was basically the game. So way to go, Jeff Heath. You finally made a play other than making a couple of kicks at San Francisco after the clutchest kicker in pro football, Dan Bailey, got hurt, at least the most accurate kicker. I think he's the clutchest. That's debatable, but he is statistically the most accurate kicker in pro football. And God help us all. I hope he's back. I don't know his status, but I hope he's back for Atlanta, or at least for Philadelphia, because he will be needed at some point. And they got away again today with Mike Nugent, who made his extra points, didn't have a field goal try. So they got away with it, which brings me to injuries heading to Atlanta. Obviously, Dez Bryant, on a ball he should have caught over the middle, is just a flat-out drop. Got his ankle caught underneath, and I don't know if it's his ankle or his knee, but he tried to sort of walk it off, limp it off, and then he ended up going in the locker room. I have no idea. If it's just his ankle, maybe he can come back. I have no idea. But then they continue to wreak havoc without Dez, and we have seen this team do it before without Dez Bryant. I'm sorry, forgive me, but I'm just off the Dez bandwagon. I used to throw up the X constantly, and that was a catch at Green Bay, and they should have won that playoff game against Aaron Rodgers, and I was the biggest Dez fan, and I'm just beating the drum every day on TV, pay him, and finally Jerry paid him, and then I don't know what happened. I don't know. Maybe his body's starting to break down. I just don't know. But he just hasn't been there enough for Dak Prescott. And to a fault this year, Dak has forced the ball to Dez Bryant. I thought he forced a couple throws to him today where I was closing my eyes. But Dez has not been there for Dak. Not enough. Even the ball, there were 2 sun balls in the first half. You have to throw it up high to Dez, and I thought it was right where it should have been, and Dez couldn't come down with it. And then Bryce Butler, Dez's replacement, had clearly a sun ball that basically hit him right in the hands. Both those 2 plays could have gone for big gains and broken the game more open than it was at halftime. But am I horrified at the prospect of no Dez going to Atlanta versus Julio? Nope, I'm not. I think Bryce Butler can be just fine. I think they spread the ball better without Dez. I'm not saying they're better without Dez, but they can win without Dez, and we saw what they did. They went to Lambeau Field and won without Dez last year. Where else? They were at San Francisco, Lambeau, and then they came home. I can't remember. Was it Cincinnati? But they won 3 straight games without Dez Bryant when nobody thought they could, and it really showed me something. I think it showed Dez something. The other one that concerns me more is Terrence Williams had a little coming out party today, and Dak got more comfortable with throwing it to Terrence Williams, obviously on the broken play, up the sideline. And Terrence Williams is a big-time threat, and sometimes he's just all too quiet. Will go entire games. I won't even know if he played or not. That scares me more. I don't know. He got his ankle caught underneath him. I have no idea. It didn't look that bad. He seemed to be walking on it okay, but I have no idea what the issue is there. I guess we'll find out in the next few hours, or maybe not for the next couple of days. But if they don't have Dez and they don't have Terrence Williams and they wind up not having Zeke, and I have no idea what's going to happen, except I told you in the pregame Facebook Live that I did, and I said on Undisputed again and again, I like Zeke's chances in court because he has a strong case against Roger Goodell. Now, are they going to lean back on Article 46? Well, it's a bunch of baloney, because that doesn't give Roger Goodell the right. See, this supersedes the right. Article 46 is about if you get busted for a DUI or you fail a drug test, then he can mete out whatever punishment he wants. If Tom Brady is actually caught deflating the footballs, which he was not, I still think he had no idea what was going on with deflating footballs, but the judge, jury, and executioner, Roger Goodell, thanks to Article 46, which the NFLPA, the players just conceded to get back to football in 2012, you can bust Tom Brady. You can say he cost him 4 games. You have the right to do that. You can keep leaning, sort of leaning back on Article 46, but you cannot give any human being the right to condemn, to convict an employee of domestic violence with no conclusive proof or evidence. You can't do it when 2 police departments have interviewed the accuser and both times decided not credible. You can't do it when Roger Goodell's director of investigations was the only person in-house who interviewed the accuser 6 times and she said not credible. She recommended no suspension for Zeke. So you got all that on your side, plus the final little nail in the coffin of the NFL. The whole notion that Judge Phelan in New York City, and this is, remember, this is after the Texas judge just threw the case out and laughed at the NFL and said, clearly, Ezekiel Elliott did not get a fundamentally fair appeals process. Well, clearly he didn't. Goodell wasn't interviewed. You couldn't cross-examine Goodell. You couldn't cross-examine the accuser. I don't know. Goodell especially should have been cross-examined about Kia Roberts, who testified against Roger Goodell. That's the director of investigations. Duke, Vanderbilt Law School, assistant DA in Brooklyn for 7 years. You don't think she's got credibility? And she said the witness, the accuser, doesn't have credibility. My point is, they have a case. It's going to keep taking pounds of flesh out of Zeke. It's going to hurt the morale and the psyche of the football team. Is he playing? Is he not? And I assume Zeke's going to have to fly back to New York again for another hearing in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. I assume that's going to be the case. But they have a strong case. Could it get delayed? Could the injunction be reinstated? I don't know. I just have had a feeling. I've been the only one that I know of who has said from the start, I think he's got a shot. And with all that momentum in place, and the fact that Judge Phelan in New York City has a husband who works for the law firm that forged through the CBA she kept referring to throw Zeke's case out of her court, it's at the very least, at the most it's conflict of interest, but at the very least it's the hint of impropriety. She should have recused herself. There were 40 other judges that could have heard that case in New York City. Now it just looks bad for the NFL. Maybe that'll come up in appeals court. So I think there's a chance this gets, again, delayed. I know you're burned out from hearing about it, but I've said from the start, he has a case. Roger Goodell in the United States of America cannot have the right to condemn Ezekiel Elliott, to stain him, to besmirch his reputation from now on as a domestic abuser. You just can't do that without evidence, without credible proof or evidence. So, again, it's just a guess, a gut feeling. I think he'll be able to play at Atlanta. I've said from the start, I think he'll be able to play for the entire year. Jerry Jones has said from the start, he's just not guilty of anything. Wow. It's pretty strong of Jerry Jones. Now, Jerry Jones is on the attack against Roger Goodell to get Goodell replaced. I'm sure this has something to do with it, but it's just such weak leadership when the commissioner of the NFL is never out ahead of these issues. He's always backpedaling, reacting, and just looking weak and awkward and overmatched. I don't know. Still love my NFL, but not sure this is the right commissioner for the NFL, but I've said that for years. Not a dynamic leader, which brings me back to the dynamic leader who is Dak Prescott. I'm going to say it again. He's changed the face of the Dallas Cowboys. We just sat and listened to Tony Romo do all the commentary. He was terrific today. He was very objective, I thought. But with Tony Romo, as much as he entertained all of us, high risk, high reward, he was higher risk than reward. I got more risks, failed risks, than I got reward. He was one of those try anything, do anything, overachieving, undrafted free agents, and had a lot of ability, a lot of charisma, a lot of pizzazz, but he just lost. He was not a winner in the end. Tony Romo was not a winner. Like him personally, think he's found a home. He's turned into a superstar broadcaster, gets a little gee whiz occasionally, and steps on Jim Nantz occasionally, but he's like a kid in a candy store. He just can't stop talking and just gushing about what he sees on the field, and he sees a lot. He would make a good coach. A lot of ex-quarterbacks can see it, but they can't speak it, and Tony can see it and speak it immediately in language that I think everybody can comprehend. But as far as the savior of my Dallas Cowboys, and I have been a Cowboy fan since I was, in 4th grade when they were born, No. Dak Prescott fell out of heaven into Jerry Jones' lap. He didn't want him. He wanted Paxton Lynch. How's that working out for Denver? It went on and on, but he did not want Dak Prescott. 4th round, Mississippi State. And look what Jerry found. He found a franchise quarterback who's changed the culture in the Cowboy locker room. He turned them from what can go wrong, will go wrong to us, into what we can do, we will do. And today, they showed such resilience thanks to their quarterback. Did he not make all the key plays in the game? I said before the game started, it's going to be Dak's game. And all the key throws, all the key plays with legs were made by the quarterback number 4, Dak Prescott. Again, I think he is starting to climb back into the MVP race, but they're going to have to keep winning games. I can't make certainly any MVP case now because right now it's hard to argue with A, Tom Brady, and B, Carson Wentz in the AFC and the NFC. And obviously the Patriots are off today, but Brady has just been spectacular, carrying what for the first 4 games was an all-time awful defense, historically bad defense. And it's still, if memory serves, I haven't checked this, but I'm pretty sure it's still dead last in yards allowed in the National Football League. And so right now, Tom Brady is my MVP, but I take nothing away from Carson Wentz. He was really good today, really good. Do I think he can get a little blockheaded occasionally, a little deer in the headlights? He'll force a throw. They are front running. They got it going. Everything's clicking. Everything's falling into place. I still say the Cowboys are better. The Cowboys defense is coming around. All of a sudden, they have a strong front 7. They have a really strong pass rush that can come from a lot of different directions. And the Marinelli scheme is starting to marinate. It is starting to click on all fronts, and all the kids are starting to figure out where they're supposed to be, exactly when they're supposed to be there. And all of a sudden, I saw no big breakdowns against the Chiefs team with Kareem Hunt and Tyreek Hill. They're just such explosive players. And Travis Kelce, they're explosive. And look what happened. They held them in check. In fact, I don't know if anybody's done a better defensive job. Well, nobody has. Nobody's done a better defensive job on Kansas City than Dallas did today. And again, I was beating the drum for Jerry Jones to go get somebody to sign Darrelle Revis, Antonio Cromartie. They're out there. I think they both, I know Crow wanted to play for the Cowboys badly. And they said no, and maybe they're going to turn out right because maybe it's Marinelli once again, as he was last year, who is the superstar of the defense. So it's starting to click. The quarterback is playing at an even higher level than he was last year. Ezekiel Elliott is Ezekiel Elliott. And again, I don't know for a fact if he's going to be around, but did you see Alfred Morris? He got 1 carry today and ran for a first down. I like him. Remember against the Rams, he got 1 carry and went for 70 yards. Is he as good as Zeke? No, he's not as good as Zeke. We haven't seen Darren McFadden. He hasn't been active all year, but he did practice this past week. And he's pretty good. You have 2 backs behind Zeke who each has had multiple 1,000-yard seasons. Well, that's pretty good. You can get through the night without Zeke. Now, if you had to lose him for 6 games from this point forward, it'd be pretty rough. But let's just see how it plays out. I still think Zeke's going to be a Dallas Cowboy, and yet no team is better equipped to withstand the loss of an Ezekiel Elliott than Dallas Cowboys. So, injuries, suspension, hanging over their heads. But I love the way Dak responded. And again, those 2 drives, back to back, just check this out. Just let this sink in. 75 yards in 12 plays, 87 in 13. That's the Dak attack. Those are shades of last year when they won 11 straight games. They controlled the clock. They controlled the football. It's hard to go that many plays unless your quarterback can execute without mistakes. And to me, no quarterback in football can execute without mistakes, play after play after play after play after play, than Dak Prescott. He doesn't get nearly enough credit. How about that touchdown run? It looked like he was tripped up, and then he turned on the jets. He's got acceleration at 240 pounds. I thought they'd nip him at the butt at the pylon, but nobody got there. He can run, man, and he can ball handle on that read option. He'll hurt you with that. He'll hurt you scrambling. He is a key runner in this offense. So I was proud of the Dallas Cowboys today. They showed me a lot of guts and resilience. I think they got more guts and resilience than the Eagles. I think the Eagles are a little bit of a facade. I think they got off hot. The young quarterback got off hot. They've had nothing really go wrong yet. They haven't faced any real adversity yet, and they will. It may not be for 2 more weeks, but when they come to Dallas, they will face adversity because they're not going to beat the Cowboys at Jerry World in 2 weeks. And if it comes down to this, and I think it well might, at least I hope it will, I believe the Cowboys are even better on the road than they are at home. So I believe if it comes down to Cowboys at Philadelphia, I like their chances in the final game. It's a good day for the Dallas Cowboys. Showed me a lot. They're right on track. Injuries, suspensions notwithstanding. I can't wait to lay into Shannon Sharpe tomorrow. We've got Eric Dickerson on tomorrow. I believe we have Tony Gonzalez on tomorrow. It's going to be a good day, a big day to talk Dallas Cowboys on Undisputed. I got your back, Cowboy Nation. How about them Cowboys? I appreciate your time tonight. I'm looking forward to watching Jay Cutler. Is he going to play tonight? I'm not even sure. I got the sound down. So I will be watching. I will be tweeting. But I will definitely be speaking tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1. Undisputed. Good night, Facebook, and good job, Dallas Cowboys.